Come with us as we recap a movie of people turning into furries. François Marindaz is stuck in heavy traffic and has to deal with his angsty son, Emil, who is messily eating in the car. He asks if he could at least be neat and act like he's interested in visiting his mother in the hospital. But Emil gets pissed with his father's nagging that he nopes the fuck out of there, acting like Kristen Stewart in Twilight. When François reaches him, they witness a hybrid birdman thrown out of an ambulance and on top of another car. A few men quickly arrive to hold the furry down as they both get back to the car. When they reach the hospital, another hybrid is there to have a consultation, and François insists it doesn't bother him. Cap. He's sus of the furries. The doctor says Lana Marindaz hasn't had a seizure in 3 weeks, which they consider a good sign that she's getting better. She admits they are still trying to figure out why people are suddenly turning into animals, but there is much more to learn. François is hopeful, but Emil is convinced that his mother is long gone because she has gone to too many furry conventions. The doctor reveals that the construction of the center for the hybrid creatures is over, and they are expected to be transferred sooner than expected. François still has a grudge that Lana was taken by force and admitted into the hospital, but he assures the doctor that they too will move once Lana is taken to the center. When it's time to see her again, François forces his son to smile and convinces him that Lana is still his mother, even though she looks different. François is in his Delulu era. She still hasn't fully turned into an animal, but the change is very visible. The father and son move to a cottage closer to the newly opened center, and François tries to convince Emil that it's only temporary. The next day at his new school, a girl named Nina interrogates Emil, asking him about his family. To avoid suspicion, he says his father is a chef and his mother is already dead. Oh, they racist towards hybrids. After classes, Emil visits his father at his workplace and gets introduced. Later that night, a storm hits the place, and Emil sees another hybrid wandering near their house. That thing spawned and then despawned out of nowhere. When morning breaks, François receives a phone call that sends him into a panic. He takes Emil with him and drives away, encountering the storm's aftermath from the night before. They get out of the car, and François drags his son into the forest, past the police officers checking the area. Emil gets frightened and pulls his arm away. François sees the transfer vehicle submerge in the water, and he frantically calls for Lana, hoping that she's still alive. Police assistant Julia tells him that the transfer vehicle got into an accident on their way to the center, and 40 hybrids are still missing. Dog, ain't no way they lost 40 of them all at once. They had one job. François only calms down when he hears Lana hasn't yet been found. Wanting to see his wife, François hangs their clothes out so she can follow their scent. But Emil tells him that Lana will never come back to them. At school, a teacher tells Emil to join the weaker group in the tug-of-war. To his surprise, he manages to defeat the other team all by himself. What cycle is he on, and can I get some? Confused by his newfound strength, Emil runs home and sees claws starting to grow under his nails. He lets out a bitch-ass scream. Then he finds the bones on his back looking different, and he panics, realizing he's also becoming a hybrid. Boy made back day Monday through Friday. Meanwhile, François bumps into Julia at the store. She says they have already stopped looking for the hybrids because the military has stepped in to handle the situation. Suddenly, there's a commotion, and the police are everywhere because a creature has been spotted. François thinks it's Lana, so he chases it, only to find a goofy-ass-looking hybrid with tentacles. As the police chase it, François spots another one hiding under the table, but it's also not Lana. The mutation happens fast to Emil, and he licks Nina's arm at a party, confusing everyone. It's Gen Z's new way of showing riz. Afterward, Emil disappears into the forest after following a hybrid's call. That big of a fumble at the party would make me want to disappear into the wilderness too. When he wakes up, he has blood in his mouth and can't recall what happened. Wanting to find Lana before the military does, François takes his son into the forest to look for her. Emil asks his father if he's mad at him because Lana was taken away after she hit him, causing a scar. François assures him he doesn't blame him for that. They look everywhere, but Lana is nowhere to be found. François even plays her favorite song, Turn Down for What, by Lil Jon, and they shout her name in the middle of the night inside the dark forest. The next day, Emil wanders off into the woods alone. A birdman hits him and pins him down to the ground, its claws digging and cutting into his flesh. François saves his son, dragging him back to the car so he can take him to the hospital. When Julia asks why he's bleeding, Emil says his dog bit him. Because Emil refuses to go to the hospital, Julia takes them to the station so Emil can get stitched up. When he's finally alone, Emil opens his wound and starts licking the blood flowing down his arms. Because of his heightened senses, Emil has difficulty concentrating in class. He can't even pedal properly, so he can't use his bike. Nina thinks Emil probably has ADHD like her, so she starts spending time with him. Let's hope bro doesn't fumble a second time. Emil learns that the hybrid center accepts food donations, so he goes to the swamp to catch some fish. He returns to the forest and befriends the birdman by giving him his catch. You'd think the Burman would know how to hunt since he's a motherfucking bird. The birdman's name is Fix, and he is learning to fly. Seeing how dangerous it is for Fix to practice on land, Emil volunteers to help him by leading him to the swamp and removing the woods in the water. Fix notices Emil's back and tells him how lucky he is that the mutation didn't start on his face like what happened to him. I wonder if it was an improvement to his normal human face? While at the restaurant, François thinks he saw Lana hiding. However, a different hybrid attacks him from behind and presses him to the ground. Another employee shows up and calms the creature down, asking it not to hurt François. When he finally breaks free, François runs to the forest to look for Lana again. He ends up seeing a creature, quite unsure if it really is his wife. At this point, François will see a pole in the distance and scream out, "Lana!" He goes back to the restaurant and learns that the creep who attacked him is the other employee's younger sister. By the time Emil returns, the military is already at the restaurant, looking for the hybrid and securing the place. Emil continues to help Fix during the day and even changes his bandages for him. He done fixed Fix's bandages. He sees the huge scars on his face and finds out that Fix was sent away to undergo corrective surgery when the mutation started happening. Fix reveals that his voice is starting to change, and talking has become increasingly difficult. François asks Julia to help him look for Lana in the forest. He admits he doesn't know if he's more afraid of losing Lana or finding her. To his surprise, he sees Emil's bike in the forest, even though Emil said it was stolen. When François finds animal claws in the sink pipes, he decides it's time to confront Emil. When Emil realizes his father has discovered his secret, he tries to run away, only to be caught and taken inside the house. "Don't worry, bro. Come out the closet. It's made of glass." François calmly tells his son everything he has to do so he won't be taken away from home and brought into the center, just like Lana. He tells him not to tell anyone about the mutation. François then shows him how to cut his claws, instructs him to put covers in his ears, and shows him how to shave his growing fur. Kids, this is definitely what puberty is like, trust. When Emil returns to see Fix, he realizes his friend can no longer talk. Instead, Fix just keeps on making bird sounds. Emil hugs Fix and comforts him, assuring him he will find a solution. Emil gets scared when Fix climbs up a tree, so he convinces him to get down, or he'll die. Fix dives, and with the power of plot armor, he gets to fly before hitting the ground. He flies around the forest and above the swamp, with Emil running after him. Because Fix can no longer speak, Emil screams at the top of his lungs to celebrate with him. During the Midsummer Festival, François scolds his son for not being more cautious. He takes a huge pair of scissors and threatens to cut off Emil's claws himself. Emil provokes his father and pushes him away, not wanting his help. So François grabs him. Emil gets angry and fights back, digging his fangs into his father's arm. François has no choice but to put the scissors blade on Emil's neck to calm him down. When they both finally calm down, they stare at each other, crying. Emil walks away to spend time with his friends and finds Nina first. Nina asks him to follow her, and when they get away from the crowd, they kiss. They go feral on each other while everyone else is busy partying. She touches Emil's back and confirms she's always known he's a hybrid. Girls giving furry but no judgment here. She likes them wild, respect. When they join their friends, another classmate named Victor goes to the toilet with Emil. Victor is jealous that Emil is with Nina, so he takes out a device that produces sound only the hybrids hear. Victor has always suspected Emil of mutating, and this finally confirms his suspicion. The sound gets too loud, and Emil hits Victor to make it stop. Victor's face starts bleeding, and Emil runs into the field. Karma's a bitch, Victor. The people immediately realize a hybrid is within the area, so they ready their guns and start looking for it. Emil hides, but he can't get anywhere far because he's surrounded. Soon, Fix flies to the field to save Emil and ends up unaliving someone. François sees the dead man, so he also grabs a gun to look for his son. Emil runs deep into the forest with Fix flying above to guide him. When Emil gets to the other side of the swamp, a gunshot sends Fix falling to the ground. Though Fix is dying, he still manages to give a smile to Emil before taking his final breath. When François gets to the scene, he sees the dead Birdman, but not Emil. Emil spends a few days in the forest as his body changes. He takes refuge inside a cave during a storm and wakes up the following day to find his mother looking at him. She has fully turned into an animal, but Emil knows it's her. When he exits the cave, he finds a lot of hybrids hiding in the forest, just like him. Some have fully turned, while others still have human body parts. I wonder what sex is like. Oh shoot, I said that out loud. The military arrives and starts catching the hybrids. Disoriented from it all, Emil loses focus and is taken. François arrives at the station with Julia, telling everybody that his son only ended up in the forest by accident and that he was not obstructing the military operation. Sure, Jan. The police officer gets suspicious when Emil can't hold the pen properly, so François hits him before he can pull his gun. They leave quietly, pretending everything's okay. Refusing to give up his son, François drives as fast as he can to get to the forest and away from the station. He realizes that it's safer for Emil to be with his kind. He's hopeful that Emil can see his mother again, even though they have both turned into hybrids. He tells Emil how important he is to him before telling him to run. Emil holds his father one last time, and by the time the police arrive, he's already deep into the forest. What did y'all think of this one? Very similar to that TV show, Sweet Tooth, but there wasn't a deadly COVID virus.
Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like. It really helps the channel.